So my presentation will have five subtopics to just structure my presentation. I will start with the objective of the study, objective of the case study, and background and context of the specific area that where I study about the topic. And I'll say a few words about the methodology we have used, and I'll finally conclude by analysis and finding. The general objective was to contextualize architecture, like in the curriculum of architecture for undergraduates, to contextualize the architectural design studio classes according to the to the things on the ground, existing situation of the urban poor and the existing situation of informal settlement. Uh, so, and accordingly, we have top sub objectives. We start with the assessing and understanding the existence and extent of informal settlements in Mekelle city, and we developed a map of informal settlements by utilizing participatory mapping approach. Uh, and finally, we classify which part of the city is deemed as informal settlements and to what extent. During our study, there were three, as I said it earlier, there were two other universities from Ethiopia. One from Addis Ababa, the capital city of Ethiopia, and the other was from University of Gondar, the other autonomous region in Ethiopia is called Amhara. During our discussion on the beginning of the project, so there are studies about informal settlements in Addis and studies about informal settlements in other regions of Ethiopia. But unlike both, it's very undiscussed issue in my specific city. This was like caused by multiple reasons, uh, partly motivated by political, partly by the administrative intention to ignore informal settlements because they consider them as a shortcoming of the administration system. Uh, that was the motivation behind why we start to look for whether informal settlement exists or not. To say a few words about the city that where I come from and the study undertook. Mekelle is the capital city of one of the 9 regional states which constitute Ethiopia as a federal republic. Uh, and the administrative area is like roughly 320 kilometers square with 524 like 524,000 population and highly growing city with 3.76% annual growth rate, and the population density is like estimated 9,000 people per kilometer square. You might find some discrepancy from those data because like uh, technically in most developing countries, statistics and census are highly politicized here, and due to some limitation with the finance and technology, the frequency we undertake census is very dispersed. And as I mentioned it earlier, the government ignores the existence of informal settlements, but there are other studies for different reasons done by NGOs and other institutions, which states like 38% of the population living in the city is like under poverty threshold. And accordingly, we have met the officials from different government organization in the city, and they don't have any formal definition of informal and formal settlements. uh, and we start to study about other experiences in other parts of the world, especially in the most common areas for their informal settlements and the way they treat informal settlements: India, Kenya, Brazil, uh, and and we have also reviewed the habitat issue 3. They have very good articulated definition about informal settlements. So we start from their definition. We said it earlier, like the government has its own interest, and the public has, the community who lives in the informal settlement, they have their own interest. And as a professionals, we have our understanding from the literature review. So we try to triangulate those all three different perspectives and come up with the definition of informal settlements in our locality. And after a while, we also, as I mentioned it earlier, we involve the community to discuss uh, what's their future and how the government understands their settlement, and what's the government's future, the government's decision for their future. And all of them told us they don't have any right to claim, and they don't have any hope to settle in the existing informal settlements. And mostly, even the annexed villages, uh, they state that the government lacks to, when they are annexed to the city, when the city grows, they complain the government lacks the local plan and the skill to integrate them, the plan.